Now it looks like we're recording. Okay. Let the class begin. All right. Just to reiterate what I've said so far, this class is intended to give us a chance to present our final projects, to know what you need to do to finish up the course, and to bid farewell to this class. We will expect everyone to give a presentation. Does not necessarily need to go all the way through the prototyping process, since the prototyping didn't work out as well as we wanted to. And that happens a lot when you're doing 3D printing on a schedule. 3D printing is a thing that requires a lot of patience. And this is actually only the second year I've tried it. Last year I only gave a couple of days for 3D printing. This year I gave more than a week. And it still wasn't enough. We may end up having to do 2 weeks or even 3 to make sure it gets done next year. But we got something printed for everyone. Gavin will receive his a little bit later than anyone else, but I think that we got something printed for everyone, and I hope to get everything printed off over the break and send them to you so you have them for your future whatever. But anyway, we learned a lot of things, and that's good. Now, as far as the presentations go today, you will give your presentation, and you will also evaluate your fellow students' presentations. And I will send you an evaluation sheet here shortly as we get ready to go. You will be required with each presentation that you're evaluating, which will be 2 for each of you, to ask a question and write down that question on your evaluation sheet. For Gavin, of course, who will be watching this remotely, he will just have to write down his questions, and that will be fine. But we want to always, when we're listening to someone else present something, we want to form questions in our minds about what they're doing and ask those questions. That means that we're engaged, that we're paying attention, and we're learning something. What else do I need to mention? At the end of this, you should, if you haven't already, you should send me a copy of your presentation, the PowerPoint file. You should also send me your logbook or a link to your logbook. Make sure that it is an open to everyone who has the link kind of thing in Google Docs so I can actually open it. And your end of your logbook should have a good page, maybe 2 pages report of what you think the overall conclusion of your project is. What the overall success of it was, what the overall shortcomings were, the overall challenges, things that still need to be done, kind of a wrap-up so that if somebody else was going to come and read your logbook, they would know how far you got, what needed to be completed, what needed to be done again, so on and so forth. So they wouldn't have to start over from scratch. They could just read that final report and start the continuation of your work, just like an engineer should. And then we've been done with the class. As soon as those get turned into me, I will grade. I will post scores. I'll send scores to you as well. And that will, for me, that has to be done by Sunday. I guess I will probably get it done by Saturday evening. So be aware of that. Be on the lookout for grades being posted. Are there any questions before we get started here? Okay. Let's send you guys a copy of this really quick. Did we do the evaluation sheets before? Oh, okay. This will be new for you then. The evaluation sheet essentially has 7 different aspects of a presentation that you will evaluate, you will consider, and let's see if I can find it here. And I'm going to send this to you right now by email. Maybe. Let's see if it's going to let me do that. That's just great. Yeah. Okay. So that should be coming to you here. Let me put in our okay. So that is on its way. Well, let's take a look at it really quick before we get started. Okay, can you guys see my computer there? Okay, so this is what it looks like. Class presentation evaluation. You're going to put your name at the top. The name of your presenter goes next. And the name of the topic the presenter is presenting on will go in this third line under topic. And then you're going to give a score for each one of the following things here. We have the subject. Was the presentation informative? Did it have a clear focus? Was it well researched? Poor to outstanding, 1 to 7. Same thing for organization and clarity. Was it easy to follow? That's the order of the slides, the order of the ideas, right? Preparation. Did the speaker who was giving the presentation seem like they rehearsed? Did they read from their slides? That means they probably did not rehearse. Sensitivity to the audience. Did they maintain eye contact with members of the audience? Did they make effective use of pauses, gestures, things like this? Visual aids. That's essentially the pictures and the graphics in their presentation. There's only 5 things we're doing, not 7. But anyway, you're going to give a score for each one of these, and then also for each one of these, I want you to give some comments on why you gave them the particular score that you did. Just some notes here off to the side underneath, kind of. And so my favorite way to do this is to, as I notice things in somebody's presentation that they do well or maybe they could work on, I start writing down notes near the appropriate spot, and then at the very end I give them a score after I've written down my notes. It takes a little bit of concentration to do this because you have to listen while you're writing, so make short notes. Just write things, little snippets down as you're listening to the presentation. And then this also can help you to get your mind going so that you can think of a question that you might have for this presenter. Your question that you have for the presenter, you can write at the bottom of the page, or you can write it on the back of the page, or whatever you want to do. And you can just type it directly into the form and email it to me, and that's perfectly fine. But you should fill this out for each of the other 2 presenters that will present today. Yep. Yeah, go ahead. guys ready? Okay, so I'm going to start off by playing this presentation from Gavin, and we will go ahead and evaluate this. I'll be right back. I have to grab some evaluation sheets for myself. I left them on my desk. Okay. Let's see if we can get some good sound here and everything.
This is a presentation for my 3D prototyping project, where I'll be going through the engineering design process. The first step is to identify the problem and what could have I used in my experiences to make something easier. So the problem was that we were to create something that could make something easier, something that was a need or an annoyance or a problem. So what I did is I just went through my experiences and I decided on 3 things. And a lot of my experiences are with mechanics. So I went with a wrench that has a rotating open-ended head and that would ratchet from left to right so that you could get it on at a different angle onto the nut if it was being stubborn or in a tight spot. The second idea was a key ring. A key that has a clip on it, like a lane clip or something like that, that would clip onto the key ring, so if you had one of those stubborn key rings, you wouldn't have to fight with the key ring. And my third idea was it would look like a pair of pliers and it would hold nails so that you don't smash your fingers while you're hammering a nail into the wood. And I did some research to see if there was some ideas that I could build on that were already invented to improve it or change it just slightly. And when I went through it, I didn't find much on any of those ideas. There is a plastic version of the nail holder that is out there, but it isn't the same. It has one hole instead of several different size holes to get different size nails. And I didn't find anything on any of the other ideas. So that's how I'm going to solve my problems right there. I'm going to use a nail holder to put the nails in easier without smashing fingers, a key to put the key onto the key ring without problem, and a rotating wrench to get the stubborn nut heads out. So I generated the ideas, and there's a drawing, a sketch of the rotating head wrench, and as you can see on the open end that it has a ratchet system that when you run it from right or left, it'll lock into place in the place that you want so that you can crank on it. There's the key that has the clip, and there it shows on the left with it closed and on the right with the clip open. And there is one half of the nail holder showing just one piece where everything else will be the same in the making of it, because you just flip it over and you have the other side. And there's little loops up on the front to show where the nails will go. Is there any other ways these problems can be solved? I thought of a few other ways that I could have made the nail holder, but none of them seem like they'd be quite as reliable, and they might be a little bit more stubborn in getting the nail held than the one that I used. One of my ideas was to have like two forks, I guess, that go together, and just like if you take your your middle and your pointer finger on each of your hands and you slide them together, it'll make a smaller area to a wider area. When you have those two sitting horizontally to the handles, and you pinch that together to hold the nail. And that's really the only other one that I had any other ideas for. So I selected an approach. I selected the one idea that would be simpler, was good size for printing, was creative, had a lower cost, and the least material used. And the nail holder was the highest scoring with a score of 296, followed by the key with a score of 284, and the wrench with a score of 185. The wrench was just a little bit too complex for the software that we were using, is what I felt. And for the printing, it would have been kind of hard to get the ratchet part set up by printing it. So I built a prototype of the holder in SketchUp, and there on the left I have the pin that will hold it together, and they will snap together to hold the two pieces of the holder together. And on the right there's the one half of the holder that will work like a pair of pliers. And there I built a solid prototype of it. We printed this here in Sargent, and this is all that we had time to get printed before we ran out of time because of the presentation we were due. And we didn't have much problem with the printing. It printed very well. And then how would I improve the design? This is what I would do, because when I looked at it and was looking at it and imagining the second piece there, holding it, they weren't matching up without the handles being past each other. So I didn't put enough curve or in the right direction on the handle. So that is the improved design that will work a lot better than the previous design, because it's got a more curved handle that will go together without going past. That is all from my presentation on making the prototyping engineering design process.
All right. So, do either of you have any questions you'd like to ask at this point? Remember that I do want you to ask at least one question. I'd like to see a picture of, for example, yep. I'd like to see some pictures there as well. It's true. Any questions about his project? the way he did anything. I had a question when we came to this part right here. This picture right here opened a question in my mind that I might ask him, as well as the picture of his actual printed design. I tried to print this for him, but his first model wasn't working for me. So what kind of a question might you ask in a situation like this? So you might ask about some technical issues. So that's one thing you could ask. One thing that I might ask is, why didn't you just print into this wrench the hole that the pin is going to go through? It's a very easy thing to print a hole in something, so might as well put that in instead of having to drill it later, right? Any other questions? Excellent. Okay. So the question is, what other solutions do you have, maybe? All right. So those are some questions. Okay. Good. So he'll get a chance to watch this video later, barring any technical difficulties, and then he can think about those questions and how he would answer them. All right, you guys ready to give your presentations? Okay. Who's going to go first, Kevin or Kyle? Kevin, you go first. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you might not be able to see me, but I'm hoping that this will give an accurate image to my other students here. Now, can you somehow put that on your main screen you're sending to me? That's fine, too. Put your camera on the back screen, or show me the other view or something like that. Show me the front classroom view. That's fine. I just like to see the screen mostly. Good. That's great. Perfect. All right, you're ready to go. Excellent, thank you. Any questions, Kyle? It occurs to me at this point that you could have built a latch into this box as well. And that's something that I would consider putting some kind of a latch that just kind of bends the materials that we use with these printers is ideal for that kind of a thing. And so that's something to consider for that project, for that particular design. Any other questions? Okay, just so you know, Kevin, I did, even though I didn't get the box printed, I did get the rod and the two end pieces printed. I never got around to printing the lid just because of time. The box I tried maybe 3 or 4 times, and there was a catastrophic failure about 75% through every time. And usually that has something to do with something that has so much material in it is so tall. The things start to warp a little bit if you don't keep them all hot, and I just didn't keep it hot enough. I guess I need to take it's probably a 3-hour print, unfortunately, and so I need to sit with it the whole time and keep it hot. But we'll figure something out. Hopefully, I can get that printed for you so you can try to finish up your design as you please. But did get some other things printed for you. Anything else that I print, I will send to you as I get it done. Thank you very much. You're up, Kyle. Kevin, you have any questions? I have a question for you as well. With the blockiness of the fork, for example, do you remember when we were doing the house projects and they showed us the tool, or they called the Follow Me tool? Do you remember that? That is actually a really good tool for making things that have edges that are not so easy to do, like, you know, the blocky edges of the fork. You can do a kind of a cutout on the front edge of that fork, on the front tine of that fork, and you can actually use the Follow Me tool to push it around. It takes a little bit of doing, a little bit of trying it out, but it can be done. Just so you know, it's a little bit tricky, but that's one of the tricks you can use to do that. There are lots and lots of things you can do with the Follow Me tool, and the more you use it, the more useful it gets. You'll find it's really interesting. For the spoon, that one is tricky as well, but you can do the same thing with you can use the same tool to do something different. You can actually make the bowl of the spoon before you make the handle of the spoon. Make the bowl using the Follow Me tool. Essentially, you just draw the curve that you want the spoon to have. And you draw it in 2 dimensions, and then you select that entire thing. Well, then you create an oval or a circle in another dimension, 90 degrees to it. And then you use the Follow Me tool to pull the curve around the circle, and it'll create a bowl for you. And those are all tricks and things that you learn as you do more and more three-dimensional drawing. But it certainly can be done, and it's kind of interesting to explore those things. So as you go forward in your engineering experience, in your three-dimensional drawing experience and design experiences, make sure that you really explore options. For example, on YouTube or on the internet, just put in questions like, how do I draw a spoon in SketchUp? Or how do I do this? Because there are people out there that are answering those questions and giving help with that. There are lots of knowledgeable people out there that can help you out. You can also turn to your teacher. Your teacher is a good resource for that. So, anybody else? Do you have any more questions, Kevin, at all? Excellent. Okay, good. I will be expecting to see your final project work logbooks. Just send me a link when you're all done with them. Make sure that you have a conclusion. Make sure that you send me a copy of your presentations as well. And I will continue to try to print things off for you so you can have those. Any questions before we break for the final time? Okay. Remember that I do teach another engineering course that you can take. Has no prerequisites. It is a computer programming course, Engineering 1020. If you want to take it, it will be podcasted next semester. Also, I don't remember what the time is. I think it's something like 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something, 1 to 3 on one day a week or something like that. But it will be podcast as well, so that you can take some more engineering courses. It is a course in engineering programming in MATLAB, which is a standard programming language that almost all engineers have to learn at some point. You almost always have to take a course in it. So it's a good introduction to the programming course in general. The other great thing about it is it will teach you how to use a computer to do math for you. So if you're interested in that course, make sure that you get signed up for it. And have a good Christmas break. We will see you later.